Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's the Mac here. Welcome back. And today we're going to showcase yet another game from Wargame Design Studios / John Tiller Software. It's a campaign Leipzig, Napoleonic battles. Sorry. Yeah, I haven't covered anything from these games, and I want to thank Wargame Design Studios for actually giving me a review copy here of one of the great titles that are in the database for these games. So a big shout out and thanks for that. And we're going to dive into this and have a look at Napoleonic battles, what it's all about. This is a new territory for me. I do know about the battles and Napoleon, of course, who doesn't, and but not in great detail. And that's what this whole game series is about. It brings up the whole battle, all the battles, all the campaigns, everything in the Napoleonic era there, and what happened in Europe during those crazy years, so to speak. So this is what the game looks like when you fire it up. You all recognize it. It looks very familiar. It's the franchise of all the games that come out of Wargame Design Studio and John Tiller, and the adaptive system that can be used for any warfare or theater. The same interface, the same icons, same sort of engine to play the game, but big differences once you dive into these games. This one in particular, I have fooled around with the game a bit, off camera, of course, to have a look at it, and it's more complex than many of the other titles, actually. There's a lot more to take in consideration. Combat and movement and phases are slightly different. There are some similarities, I guess, from the Civil War and Musket and Pike series, but it's all in all a quite different type of warfare that's depicted in the Napoleon times there. We have some really huge battles going on. It was a time when some of the biggest battles took place during these, the biggest of the time, basically, before the First World War. These were some of the biggest clashes of armies and coalitions duking it out. And of course, Napoleon being the center figure there in the theater. So, what do we know about Napoleon? I mean, I'm no expert on history on this. I've done some reading, seen a few documentaries, read something in some books, but I haven't really dived deep into this. So this is not going to be like a really good history lessons for sure. You guys probably know a lot more than I do. We're just going to look at the game and, of course, talk a little bit about what I know and what I picked up about this warfare and this time. So I think there was a lot of stuff going on in Europe there in the end of the 1700s there, beginning of the 1800s. Napoleon is the center figure of these titles, of course. So he was a product, basically, of the French Revolution, so to speak. He came out of all that when there was the famous big French Revolution, the overthrow of the monarchy, and the people had enough suffering. And it was a time of political change as well. I mean, those old kingdoms and emperors and all that, tsars and everything. I mean, that was starting. Was a prelude to the big battles that happened and the shift of power in Europe and some of the old like the Ottoman Empire and all that. It was all crumbling and it was all sort of starting to shift and change. And so Napoleon, I guess he was a very charismatic leader because he had some major influence over the French people there, and he basically started a military dictatorship in France just after the revolution there. He took power and he became an emperor of France, and he was a master tactician. He knew a lot about warfare for sure, and he created the Grande Armée, the famous Grande Armée of the French army. And one thing that's like a red thread through the whole conflict there is that France and Britain were like bitter enemies through the whole conflict there. And then there was a shift of power and different coalitions that teamed up, some on Napoleon's side and some on the British side, or the Prussian side and the Russian side. I mean, there was all kinds of shift of power and attacks and coalitions going on. I think there was something like 7 coalitions totally that fought against Napoleon. So some of the early days, the early years of the campaign, Napoleon was very successful. He won all his battles. He won every single. I think he defeated the first 5 coalitions, and the last 2 coalitions actually defeated Napoleon. And the famous one is the 7th, the Battle of Waterloo. We all know about when Napoleon was defeated at the Waterloo battle there, and he was exiled for the second time to some remote island. Can't remember. Was it Mount Etna or something? And that's where he was imprisoned, and he subsequently died there a few years later. So this game, Campaign Leipzig, is actually taking part of, I think this is around the 6th coalition. This is actually a title that covers a defeat for Napoleon. He was actually quite successful in the early parts of this campaign, but was subsequently defeated. He had just been into Russia. I think he did like Hitler did, I guess, the famous invasion of Russia there, 1812, and it was a total disaster. This is what actually broke the back of Napoleon and his Le Grande Armée. I mean, he had a ton of soldiers marching into Russia, and only a fraction managed to leave Russia alive. And that bitter defeat actually spurred Napoleon to raise a new army. He wanted to have he went back to France and he wanted to create a new army. But that army never was as powerful as the one that got destroyed in Russia there. And the Russian campaign is interesting as well, because I don't know much about it, but I know that Napoleon suffered from the same setbacks as, for example, Operation Barbarossa. The winter, the cold, the logistics, the scorched earth policy of the Russian troops there, the Federation. And so it was just the Second World War there, when Operation Barbarossa was basically a repeat of what happened to Napoleon in there. So he went back there and he raised his army, and this is what this title's about, Campaign Leipzig. This is Leipzig was actually where he was defeated finally. There's lots of battles covered in this, and there was lots of movement of troops and campaigns going on there before the actual big showdown at Leipzig. And it was a huge battle. I mean, it was massive. There was a lot of troops involved in that fight, and it has different parts to it. I haven't dived in that deep into the actual battle. It's quite complex, actually. The warfare of this time is quite complex. I mean, there's a lot of things to think about. There's so many different kinds of fractions and leaders and armies and detachments. I mean, it's quite confusing. You really need to be a historian to know this stuff. That's why it's good to take your time when you play these games. If you like work your way through the scenarios, the campaigns, read up on it. I mean, that's the only way to actually know what the hell is going on, because you need to have some background information to know what's going on there. So if we look at the Wargame Design Studios website here, you can see they actually have a sale now, and all the winter sale is to the 3rd of January, I think. All the games in the Napoleonic battles are actually on a discount. So this is actually a perfect time to pick up a copy of these games and give it a shot. See if it's for you, if you like it. So this is one we got going here now, the Leipzig one. But you see, there's 15 products here. It's covering everything from the beginning of the Napoleon's career to the bitter end. They have the Waterloo title there, and I think where is it? I saw it before. Yeah, the Republicans and Bayonets on the Rhine is probably some of the earliest engagement of of the Napoleonic Wars there. There's actually there's just a free demo here which you should pick up and try out. It's called The Final Struggle. It's just a tiny fraction of what went on in Waterloo there, the final battle there. This is the grand title that covers everything in the campaigns and all the battles and all the scenarios. But this free demo lets you try, I think, about 2 scenarios, two different kind of battles there. So do check that out. It's free. Just download it. Have a go at it. And then, of course, you have you have the Russian campaign here. This would be interesting to try out and see what that was all about. Marengo. Some of these titles doesn't I don't know anything about these because I haven't read enough. But I mean, 1814 there. You have Austerlitz. I know that Austerlitz was a very successful campaign for Napoleon. Bonaparte's Peninsular War. I mean, there's tons of stuff here. Wellington's Peninsular War there, all right. So do check that out. They got a sale going now, so $29.95 there. So yeah, this is what the game looks like there. We covered that. We have we're going to go through these scenarios and have a look at that. But let's dive into the folder first. So this is what it looks like when you install the game there. It's quite different than many of that. Look at all the files here. It's quite huge. And there's tons of stuff in here, actually. There's a lot of good stuff that comes with this game. I usually praise the titles for having good research and stuff, but this one is beyond good. I mean, this is really, wow. The guys working on this really know their shit. This is serious stuff. You can tell. They have lots of research that goes with this game here. The PDF files are all spread around the place, but there's lots of goodies here. Of course, you have the almighty Getting Started, which I recommend you. I played this, and I found it very good. Since I was a complete rookie when I started this, I've never played any of the Napoleonic Wars, Napoleonic Battles titles before. And actually, this is one of the John Tiller's Wargame Design Studios nowadays. I mean, this is a very successful franchise he did. Very popular. Many people love this and played this. So these are actually some really praised games, as the American Civil War titles, as I covered before. These are very praised games, and there's some hardcore gamers out there that have dedicated their lives to this game. Well, played them a lot. So that's the cool thing about Wargame Design Studios nowadays, that there is something for everybody. They have all different kinds of scopes of warfare covered. So if you are into certain warfare, the odds are they're going to have it there. And now that the Wargame Design Studio is taking over the catalog and everything, we might see some other cool titles popping up in the future of other conflicts and stuff. That's the good thing about the game concept, that you can adapt it to any kind of campaign or warfare, basically. You have everything from the early musket and pike series and the Renaissance to modern warfare. So covers it all. Yes, and getting started is good to do. Definitely, I had a good time playing this since the game system was all new to me, and even though I have played through the musket and pike and Civil War, there was I felt that there were differences in this for sure, in the actual mechanics, stuff to consider. So that's getting started there. I recommend you to do it. I've already played it through once, but I think I'm going to play it through one more time to really get into the game mechanics, and get into the game mechanics basically. If you want me to post this as a let's play, I'll do it, and we can go through it together, and I'll show you some mechanics of the game. Or I'll do what I usually do, just pick something out of the scenario catalog and do a let's play of it, because I'm definitely going to do it, because this is a game that I feel that I'm going to actually be It's going to affect me. I'm going to actually dive into this game. All right, getting back to the folder there. Yeah, so that was getting started there. They have some really nice things in this. For instance, you have the user manual, of course. It's pretty 70 pages long, so it's not as big as some of the other titles, but there's a lot of stuff covered here. Well written, easy to jump around in and have a look at. So good stuff, the user manual there. Now there's some stuff here that I haven't really figured out yet, but I probably will during the course of that dive into this game. There are, we'll have a look at those. There's a change log now that comes with the games, and this basically tells the whole update history of the games. So it's at 4. All the titles now released through Wargame Design Studios is the 4.0. They're sort of starting from scratch now at the 4.0, and they're going to build it up from there. So they have the first Wargame Design Studio release here. They have it. All these enhancements have been made. It's quite a bit. Bug fixes and some content changes there. And then here was the old Leipzig patch 106 there, and so it's all the history of the updates are here, so you could follow what actually how the game has evolved, which is really good. They have something called Armies, and this is kind of cool. You get a pictorial review of Armies of the Sixth Coalition. Artwork by Joe Amaral. This is really nice artwork here. You can see, it says there's some introduction here to the different armies, the graphic tribute there, and you can have a look at what the soldiers actually look like from the different coalitions. So the soldiers of France. These were the uniforms they were wearing at this stage. Look at the uniforms, man! Wow, the amount that went into the work of these uniforms is amazing. Kind of a different soldier that if you look at the modern soldier today. Quite the difference there. So it tells you a little bit of story here. Tells you about the French cavalry, what they look like. Artillery, which we'll go into more. Artillery was one of Napoleon's real strengths. He definitely understood the power of artillery and used it to his advantage a lot more than the Allies did. The artillery played a large role, actually, in Napoleon's success through his whole campaign career. He was a master of using his artillery at the right place, at the right time, and caused devastating damage to the enemy. Also, the cavalry was quite powerful at this stage if used correctly. I mean, you have big units of infantry marching around in block formation and lines, and it's very drilled infantry. But cavalry did play a big part, actually, and Napoleon was a master of that. One of Napoleon's, I read somewhere that one of his strengths was actually that he was a master of reading the battlefield, and he was a master of placing the enemy where he wanted to. He lured them into places where it was an advantage for his own troops. He was a master of this. And somewhat he was a predecessor. I mean, he was using blitzkrieg tactics basically before it was invented, with the combined arms like artillery, cavalry, and infantry working together to smash the opponent at vital places and then surround the enemy and cause panic and chaos. He was a master of this, and he used it a lot during the fighting there. Here you have the soldiers of the Austrian-Hungary. That's what they look like. And some stories there. Cavalry, artillery. You have the soldiers of the Russian Empire. That's what the cavalry look like there. Artillery. Some really nice artwork here. Soldiers of Prussia. And the cavalry. Artillery there. You have soldiers of France, allies of France, sorry, Baden. Yeah, there were some German states that was allies to France throughout the war there. Bavaria, Berg, the Balkan states, Denmark, the famous red uniform there, Dutch, Hesse-Darmstadt, not sure what that is, the Kingdom of Italy. Some of the Italians were actually allied to Napoleon as well. Naples, Warsaw, Portugal and Spain. So many nations, man. Rhineland, Saxony, Westphalia, Württemberg, Wurzburg, Anhalt. These were soldiers of the minor allies of the coalition. All right. Yeah, we have Britain and Hanover there. I think you had Sweden here as well. Yeah, here we go. Sweden, my home country. They were part of this. Not as powerful as the on the 1700s when Sweden was a major power, but they had some forces available to fight. Yeah, the uniforms of the day, man. Yeah, so they have that. That's pretty cool. Bonus items. Yeah, so they have like a little catalog here of all the bonus that comes with the Leipzig there. They have the leader pictures, guide order of battle, parameters, planning maps. So they have like a little summary here. There's some stuff in so they tell you where it is. It's in the main folder, some of this, and some of them is in the design folder there. So if you go into the design folder here, you will find some more bonus items. Like there's some pictures of leaders, Swedish leaders there, no pictures. You know, the Russians, French, pretty cool stuff. I mean, look at the research here, man. The amount of work that went into this. So there's a lot of stuff in this game, a lot of bonus things that comes in. We went over the notes. We haven't seen the notes. Yeah, the notes are quite extensive in this title, which it should be because there's a lot of stuff to cover here. So there are the campaign Leipzig notes here. The title was a mammoth operation to complete. Yeah, we can tell, man. There are so many nations involved in this. So they tell you that. They tell you about the planning, how they did the work. Look at all this stuff here. There's so much to read here. The fall campaign. There's a couple of campaigns that comes with the game as well. Comments on maps. Here are the battles you can read up on. Which is all good. I mean, it's all here. It's all we basically need to read to get a good scope of what was going on. Of course, you can dive deep into with books and documentaries and Google searches, I guess. But there are here's some good stuff. Note on scenario optional rules. These are always sensitive matter. What to choose. And there's some solo scenarios here. Yeah, so they talk about that. Head-to-head gaming there. They have some good, yeah. The Blitz Wargaming Club is good. The Napoleonic Wargaming Club is apparently something that to check out as well. So there are some tips to hook up with other players and play some head-to-head, which is actually, as I've said before, the strength of all these games that come out of Wargame Design Studio is actually playing versus human opponents. That's when you get the most challenge there. The AI is sometimes not that great, but sometimes it actually surprises you, and you have a hard time completing some scenarios there. Right, so that's that. We can't go into everything here, but there's lots of stuff here. They have this is pretty cool as well. They have the situation maps. I love that you can have a look at what was actually going on, where the troops were. So this is around Leipzig. We have Leipzig here. The Leipzig campaign, Situation 9, October. 9th of October 1813 there, and it will tell you where, zoom in a bit, where certain armies were actually located here. So that's cool. What would happen the 19th? It would be yeah, slightly different there. Yeah, so there's lots of research to be done here to understand what actually is going on. Started, we looked at, there's a turn track. That's going to be explained in the user manual and some scenarios. I haven't really gone into. There's a victory point calculator. I guess that is probably mostly if you play head to head, I would imagine, to calculate some victory points. So in some scenarios, maybe you have to calculate the results yourself in the end to see what kind of end result you got there. I'm not sure. I'm going to dive into that and see what that's all about. The turn track is tells you the different times. So it's sort of different for different days of the conflict there. Yeah, man, wow! Look at the detail here. It's crazy. So that's, you get a lot of stuff here, basically. A lot of stuff in that scenario. I mean, in the folder there. Let's get back to the game here. So what do you actually get here? You do get a lot of... there's two different versions of the getting started there. Solo. Allied human versus French AI. Allied human versus French AI. This is the second getting started scenario, and is intended to show the players some tactics and how the command control system works. Yeah, so there's a part 2 of the PDF there, getting started. So there's actually 2 parts to the getting started, which is pretty cool. So you work, I think you switch sides, or it's different kind of scenarios, but you'll learn different concept of the games there. Lowenberg, this is made head to head. Yeah, so you can see here there's no documentation here telling you what kind of optional rules you're supposed to be used. But I guess that would be in that, in the notes. Wasn't there something about, there was something about the different, some notes on the optional rules. I think we just seeing that here. For playtesting, we used the following optional rules, and the victory levels were adjusted to correspond the use of such. These differ from default options by great deal. The players are free, of course, to deviate from these. However, when submitting comments on play balance to our support folks, please bear this in mind. Yeah, some people don't whinge about, oh, my units were like, yeah, that's because you have that rule clicked in and stuff like that. You might try using these and see if the results differ greatly from your past games before contacting support. Yeah, so that's good. It's good stuff there. At the moment, these battles don't tell me much, since I haven't really read up on the actual engagements, but these are all battles around the campaign of Leipzig there. They have a head-to-head version. They have a solo version of that. Katzbach, head-to-head, and a solo version. Großbären, not sure how to pronounce that. Head-to-head, solo. There's a different version here. It's a smaller version head-to-head, smaller version solo. And here's something that's about Bolo's assault head-to-head. So sort of taking something of that scenario. Here we have Bertrand at Blekenfeld, head-to-head version. The early French arrival. So different takes on the Großbären battle there. Apparently that was a pretty major battle, I guess. Lots of different versions here. Smaller version, Bulow's assault again, Bertrand, these are head-to-head versions. Goldberg, head-to-head version, solo, some pretty big battles here. Dresden, look at that, 200 turns, man. head-to-head version. Here's a smaller Napoleon's counterattack, small version there. Dresden solo. Lots of scenarios covering the Dresden affair. Katzbach. Lots of different versions there. Hagelberg. Some versions. Kulm. Wow, 155 turns, man. Here's a smaller one. Solo version, Kulm. A lot covering that. Zana. Rear guard action at Zana. Cool. Head to head. Lots of these are head to head, actually. I guess you can play them versus the AI, but they're probably optimized for head to head there. So here we had Denowitz, God, Wattenburg, Lieberwoltwitz, Leipzig. Woo! 265 turns, man. Leipzig solo. Smaller version, I guess. It's the first day of the battle, so 66 turns there. I wonder if there is a huge one for solo. 60 turns. 14. Look at all the versions here, man. It's nuts. Pretty big battle here. Wow. There was a lot of versions of the Leipzig there. So for fun's sake, let's open up. Look at the size of this. This must be... Oh, 362. Whoa. Holy crap. Let's open this up. 4 days of Leipzig, man. Let's have a look at that. See what it looks like. Let's do manual on both there. This should be huge. Allied turn. 1 of 360. Okay, this is max zoom out, man. Oh, look at the size of this thing here. Here's a jump map. Here you have Leipzig. Wow, that is huge. There's probably going to be lots of units arriving as well. So these are the French forces that are on the field. Pretty big battle here. Can do the whole thing. 4 days of brutal fighting here. Pretty cool. It'll take you a long time to complete it though. What's this? We have some forces arriving here. Could these be the Prussians? It says Silesian troops here. Tenguish? Okay. Pretty big army moving in here. Wow, look at the forces here. Prussian, here we have some Prussian troops. Pretty badass there, quality A. Here it goes. Yeah, lots of units in this game. So this is what it looks like. Notes on graphics. So you have the zoom in 3D mode here. Yeah, I mean, definitely good enough for a war game. I mean, a lot of people complain about the graphics in these games, but the graphics is not really part of the game. I mean, the graphics doesn't really matter. This is all you need to play a hardcore tactical game. You don't need flashy graphics. It's all, you know, this is what it's all about, moving these formations and duking it out. You don't need the flashy graphics. Let's zoom out to 3D mode, and this is the zoom in. I mean, look at they have done some major improvements in these games. They look pretty slick now for 2D. Definitely looking nice there. Zoom out 2D mode, and the extreme zoom out there. to get your overview of the battle there. And of course, as I showed before, the jump map there, really good to quickly jump somewhere, have a look. Wow, look at this. Massive reinforcements coming in for the French here. Wow, that is a pretty serious column of soldiers moving in there, man. McDonald. Yeah. Wasn't Napoleon in Leipzig, if I remember correctly? Maybe not. No, it was Ney. Okay. Famous, one of Napoleon's generals, Ney. There he is. There he is. Command B, Leadership A. He's moving with his staff there. The Emperor's staff. Guess he's moving to the front here where his army is. About to duke it out there. Wow, look at the setup here, man. Jeez. Pretty serious stuff. What's this over here? Got some French soldiers there. Yeah, that is pretty. Look at the amount of artillery here. Wow. Yeah. So now you have a general understanding of what it looks like. Pretty cool stuff. We were down at yeah. As you can see, there is a lot of stuff that comes with this game. I mean, we just came down to Leipzig there, Freiburg, Korsen, Hanau, Sestedt. Here's some bonus. This is a bonus here. Some more bonus scenarios coming in there. Quite a lot. Yeah, you get a lot with this game. A lot of scenarios. So, it's going to be fun to dive into this. Let me know what you guys what you want me to play here. If there's any particular battle that is interesting, or a scenario, or if you should just do the getting started. It's quite a daunting title. There's lots to get into here. So yeah, this is it. We've gone through most of the stuff that comes with the game, and it looks great. I gotta say. So it's going to be a let's play of this. So give me some feedback, man, and or I'll just pick something and I'll try it out on camera, and we'll see what happens. So great title, this. Pick it up, or any of those other Napoleonic battles seen there on the page. It looks interesting. This is going to be fun. Good stuff to dive into here. So I'm going to end the video here, actually, and the next part is going to be an actual battle, and we're going to try and go through the tactics and how to play this game, and how to move units and fire and deploy for an attack, stuff like that. All that good stuff. So I want to thank you guys for watching, man, and have a good one, and I'll see you in the next. See you later.